Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening to Box Score Radio. I'm your host, Jay Keaton. It is Monday, October 7th, 2019. We are about halfway through the college football season. Things are getting heated up in the NFL season. We're starting to figure out who's the contenders and who's the pretenders. And the MLB playoffs are in full swing, no pun intended. So let's get started. Let's go over what happened this weekend, huh? First of all, NFL scores, Week 5. Cardinals defeat the Bengals 26-23. Cardinals get their first win of the season. Bengals fall to 0-5 on the season. Cardinals 514 total yards. Excuse me for messing up. I'm trying to load some scores on my phone. Cardinals 514 total yards. The Bengals less than 300. Bills beat the Titans 14-7. Raiders over the Bears 24-21. Oakland 398 total yards. The Bears only had 42 rushing yards, which is pretty unbelievable considering I remember when Matt Forte took the helm I remember when Matt Forte was running back and, he was fucking great. He was averaging probably like 125, 130 yards a game. They relied heavy on their running game. Now they rely heavy on their defense, and their defense didn't pull through yesterday. So, the Raiders at 3-2 and the Bears at 3-2. The Bears were the hottest team coming into this week, probably the most talked about team, and the Raiders took it to them, got the upset. Saints beat the Buccaneers 31-24. Saints 547. The Saints 457 total yards. Bucks 252 total yards. That's definitely a step back from last week. 55 points they hung up on LA. The Saints are now 4-1 on the season without Drew Brees. He's probably going to come back in the next 3-4 weeks. The Saints are my Super Bowl pick for the NFC, so I'm hoping he comes back healthy, makes me look good. And, the Saints were hoping to get 500, and they might be 6-1 by the time he comes back, so who dat? Vikings beat the Giants 28-10. Eagles over the Jets 31-6. Eagles record 10 sacks on the game. So I don't think it really matters that Sam Darnold's not quarterbacking for the Jets right now because their offensive line sucks anyway, so it doesn't really matter who's quarterbacking. They have more problems than just the quarterback. Their interior lineman is where the problem lies. Ravens defeat the Steelers 26-23 in overtime. We saw Mason Rudolph get knocked out, and then the cart wouldn't work. So he had to end up walking. He had to take his face mask off, leave his helmet on, and he had to walk off the damn field. With help, of course, and then Devlin Hodges, third-string quarterback, comes in. He did all right, couple lucky breaks, but the Ravens able to kick the game-winning field goal and take care of business, and they still lead the AFC North, depending on what happens tonight between the 49ers and the Bears. Patriots over the Redskins 33-7. Of course, we all heard Redskins fired Jay Gruden. About freaking time. I didn't know he was there 6 seasons. I can't believe that he even lasted 6 seasons. Feels like he just got hired 2 seasons ago. Good riddance. Bill Callahan, offensive line coach, takes over. Your defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, no, they go for their offensive line coach, Bill Callahan, I guess, because he has experience. We'll see if he can even turn that team around or, even get a win this season. Texans over the Falcons 53-32. Broncos get their first win of the season. They upset the Chargers 20-13. Packers over the Cowboys 34-24. Packers led 34-3 at one point. And finally, the big upset of the day. Colts over the Chiefs 19-13. Colts hold the ball for 37 minutes and 15 seconds compared to the Chiefs' 22 minutes. Time of possession was big here. As long as you can keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, you can do good in that high-powered offense, but Patrick Mahomes did not have a great day. It happens. Have a little faith. They're going to be bouncing right back, and I don't think the Colts are going to make much of this win. I don't see them going better than 8-8. It's all hype right now. I think they're 3-2 on the season. So, again, we're starting to see right now, the Patriots are a cut above. Bears are good, but they still have missing pieces. The Saints, probably the best overall team in the NFC, and they don't have their Hall of Fame quarterback, MVP quarterback, Drew Brees out there. Packers are looking like they're finally starting to come together. Cowboys, how good are they? We all know they're one of the most talented teams in the NFL. I think the problem lies with Jason Garrett. They got to get rid of him, get somebody who knows how to coach football. Ravens, I think, are the clear-cut favorite in the AFC North. The Steelers, they just can't get it done. They get close at Heinz Field, but they just can't get it done. And the Vikings showed that they are, in fact, elite. So, the overall takeaway, we find out Cincinnati sucks, probably the worst team in the NFL. Patriots are heading back to the Super Bowl, and if everything goes right, when Drew Brees comes back, the Saints will be joining them. And it'll be a AARP Super Bowl for two 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Excuse me. All right, that wraps up Week 5 of the NFL. Let's move on to college football. Very good weekend this weekend. Top 25 action on Friday night. Cincinnati upset number 18 UCF 27-24. If you remember, Cincinnati was my pick to win the AAC conference. And I am well on my way to be proven right. Big win for them. Saturday games. Start off with my team. Number 9 Notre Dame took care of business against pathetic Bowling Green. I know it's Bowling Green, but still 52-0, a shutout for Notre Dame is pretty damn impressive. LSU, number 5 LSU defeats number 6 Utah State 42-6. Oklahoma over Kansas 45-20. Number 8 Wisconsin shuts out Kent State 48-0. God, 2 shutouts for MAC teams. Damn, that looks bad. Number 12 Penn State impressive against Purdue 35-7. Number 19 Michigan defeats number 14 Iowa 10-3. There were no second half points in this game. All 13 points were in the first half. God. Iowa 4 turnovers in this game. So you're at Michigan, you're at home. You get 4 turnovers. And you still only put up 10 points. You only win by a touchdown. Shea Patterson, 14-26, 147 yards and an interception. So he's not the answer. I don't know what the hell Jim Harbaugh's thinking. After last week's game against Rutgers, I was kind of worried as a Notre Dame fan because we got Michigan in 3 weeks. But I'm not worried at all. I'm not impressed with Iowa. And if you can only put 10 points on them after 4 turnovers, I mean, what are you going to do against Notre Dame's defense, who's definitely better and a bit more impressive? So I'm not worried there. Michigan still has a lot of growing up to do. Texas Tech upsets number 21 Oklahoma State 45-35. Number 10 Florida defeats number 7 Auburn 24-13. This was a hell of a game. Even though there was 8 total turnovers in this game, 4 for each team. It was a sloppy game, but it was still exciting. I watched the whole thing. Bo Nix, who up to this point looked like a seasoned veteran, he played like a freshman on Saturday. He was 11 of 27, 145 yards, only 1 touchdown and 3 picks. A couple of bad decisions in the red zone. It happens. I still like Auburn. Pretty much to win out. They might take care. I think they'll take care of business against LSU. But This hurts though for the SEC getting 2 teams in, because I think Florida's going to lose. I think Florida's going to lose multiple games, honestly. Because their backup quarterback went out. He looked like he hyperextended his knee. I think it was a MCL or ACL sprain, I believe. So he's pretty much going to be hopping along the rest of the season. I don't think whoever wins the West is which is probably going to be Alabama. I don't see them losing. So I don't see the SEC getting 2 teams in like all the experts think. I think I'm going to stick to, I feel very confident in my playoff picks, which is Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma. I think those 4 teams make the playoff. I think they all go undefeated. Maybe somebody gets upset around there. Maybe Oklahoma loses, but they're so high-powered on offense, and they do have a lot of games. They have games against Texas, Oklahoma State, Westford. They've got games to where they can, make some noise and get those those points on the eye test. So I like those 4 teams to get to the playoffs. Number 11, Texas defeats West Virginia 42-31. Number 3, Georgia. It was close against Tennessee. Tennessee came out, fired up, led 14-10. But again, you progress. The game goes along. You find out who's more talented. Georgia's way more talented. They win 43-14 over Tennessee. Number 4, Ohio State defeats number 25, Michigan State 34-10. One thing I didn't take away from this game, Ohio State is probably the most well-balanced team. They do have some flaws, though. I don't think they're as good in the passing game as everybody makes it out to be. I think they're more reliant on the running game with Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins, the 1-2 punch. But I don't think Justin Fields is that great of a thrower. Looking at him, and there was a lot of wide-open receivers for big plays, which gave him the 270-plus yards of passing he had, and he did have an interception. So I think if you make them one-dimensional, make Justin Fields throw the ball, I believe you got a shot. And Michigan State did that for a while. No points in Ohio State. Really had a second quarter 24-point performance. That's where they exploded, and that's where the game was won. Other than that, the first quarter and third quarter, and then even the fourth quarter, they only had, I think, 10 points. So, and Michigan State offensively just sucks. They turned the ball over like 3 times. So, I'm not probably top to bottom, probably the best team, but I'm still not sold that they can't be beat. They do get lucky with their schedule. They got Wisconsin at home. They got Penn State at home. And their road games consist of, Rutgers, Northwestern, and Michigan, I think, remaining. So, again, not impressed with their schedule, and they luck out. They're the luck guys, I told you this. But they're going undefeated. They're going to the playoffs, and then they can make noise there. They're definitely talented enough to make noise there. Number 24, SMU defeats Tulsa 43-37 in triple overtime. Number 13, Oregon defeats Cal 17-7. If there is a hope for the Pac-12 getting a team in, it's Oregon, because Washington ended up losing to Stanford 23-13. I think Oregon's the only team in the Pac-12 now that doesn't have 2 losses, and they only 1 loss to Auburn. So as long as they can start beating the shit out of people, they have a shot, but I don't think they will, and I think they'll lose another one. I think they got a very good shot to win the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 is pretty much eliminated in getting a team in the playoffs. And finally, number 16, Boise State defeats UNLV 38-13. So, we have new AP poll rankings came out today. Here's the top 25. 1 through 5, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU. For some reason, because of this point system, they have to put Ohio State and Georgia are tied for 3rd, which is just absolutely fucking stupid. Why can't you just say, slip in an extra point to Ohio State and make them 3rd, or make Georgia 3rd? It doesn't really matter. This tying crap based on points is just dumb. But anyway, it is what it is, and it will work itself out. Oklahoma, 6 through 10, Oklahoma, Florida, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, and Penn State. Notre Dame remains at number 9. Penn State goes up 2, and Florida moves up 3 spots ahead of Notre Dame and Wisconsin. Rightfully so. They beat number 7 Auburn. You got to give it to them. 11 through 15, you've got Texas, Auburn, Oregon, Boise State, and Utah. 16 through 20, you got Michigan, Iowa, Arizona State, Wake Forest, and Virginia. And then finally, rounding out the top 25, number 21, SMU, Baylor, Memphis, Texas A&M, and finally Cincinnati, jumping into the top 25. All right, here's my takeaway. Basically, from 1 to 13, you've got teams that can compete for a championship. I'm not saying any of these teams would compete against an Alabama, Ohio State, a Clemson, or Georgia, but what I'm saying is that these are teams that are among the elite. They've got solid defenses, or either solid defenses or solid offenses. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They're well coached. But then when you go from, you got Oregon number 13. When you go from 14 down, which starts at Boise State, all the way to Cincinnati, there is a definite gap. There is a drop-off, a huge drop-off. I don't think any of those teams are legitimate contenders. 9-3 at best if they played a tough schedule. There's a talent gap in college football right now. I'm not, even though we saw Clemson almost get beat by North Carolina, those are fluke games to me. 9 out of 10 times, maybe even 19 out of 20 times, Clemson blows them out. But there's definitely a drop-off and of flawed teams, severely flawed teams. And if you're in the top 13 right now, and I give it to Oregon simply because they did play Auburn pretty well, but from 14 on, forget about it. Don't even worry about those teams. You might as well get rid of the rankings, because those teams can be beat by unranked teams, and everybody else from 13 to 1 are teams that can compete against anybody. But other than that, huge gap in talent. So it was a very exciting weekend for college football. Next weekend's going to be pretty good. For my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they take on USC at home. They better win that game. I mean, USC's got talent at wide receiver, but they got to win that game by at least 2 scores. At home against third-string quarterback, depleted USC team whose coach is probably going to end up getting fired at the end of the season. You got to end up taking care of business. You have to. All right, moving on to the MLB playoffs. These are games for Saturday. Yankees 8, Twins 2. That's the American League Divisional Series. Yankees lead the series 2-0. Astros beat the Rays 3-1. Astros lead the series 2-0. Sunday's games. Braves defeat the Cardinals 3-1. Atlanta leads the series 2-1. And the Dodgers beat the Nationals 10-4. And the Dodgers lead the series 2-1. And that's in the National League Divisional Series. So, pretty interesting. I think we pretty much... I think the only surprise maybe was Nationals because of the rotation. They're really the only ones that weren't expected to be losing right now. But everybody else, I think it's pretty clear who the best teams for each division are. I'm still rolling with the Yankees. I think the Dodgers probably come out of the National League. American League, though, I'm still rolling with the Yankees. I think they sweep. I think they sweep the series against... God, what did I just went blank? Against the Twins. And they'll continue to roll, but... they're the best. They're probably the best hitting team right now in baseball. They're definitely in the playoffs. So I expect them take that all the way to the World Series and maybe another championship for the Bombers. And finally today, we'll go over the UFC 243 results. This was live from Australia Saturday night. 5-fight main card. Yorgan De Castro defeated Justin Tafa. It was a round 1 KO TKO, 2 minutes 10 seconds. Diego Lima defeated Luke Jameo by split decision. Sergio Spivak defeated Tai Tuivasa by round 2 submission, 3 minutes 14 seconds. That's 3 in a row for Tai Tuivasa. 3 losses in a row. You know, he had that win against Andrei Arlovsky. Then he lost to Dos Santos. Then he lost to the Serbian dude. I forget his name. Not Spivak, but something else. And then he loses to Spivak here. Spivak here, submission. So, I don't know. I think he's been the last couple fights. He's been on the main card. I think you might have to drop him down to the early prelims, give him a lesser opponent, build his confidence back up because he's a star. He's got the shoey thing working for him. He's a colorful character. You know, he's going to draw no matter what, but you can't have him lose 4 fights in a row. You know, no matter how big of a star you are, no matter how good you are, you can't lose 4 fights in a row and expect to get those paychecks and expect to be on the main card. So they've got to set him up with a decent opponent that he can win, and then he could probably knock out and get a good finish. Dan Hooker defeated Al Iaquinta by unanimous decision. That's 2 losses in a row for Iaquinta. Dan Hooker, the only Australian on the main card to win the only Australian to win on the main card. They were 1 for 4, so it sucked to be representing Australia here. And the reason that is because Israel Adesanya becomes unanimous middleweight champion, defeating Robert Whittaker by KO TKO, 3 minutes 33 seconds of round number 2. His striking is elite, probably better than Anderson Silva, his idol. He's got knockout power. He's got fantastic head movement. I wouldn't be too sold, hype him up too much after this fight. Whittaker had like almost 2 years off. And even though Whittaker is very well-rounded, very skilled, very technical, he has proven, though, his last 2 fights that he can get dropped. You know, he got dropped a couple times against Yoel Romero and was able to survive and win by unanimous decision. This one here, though, Israel Adesanya is a different animal. 18-0, middleweight champion. He's up next. He's got Paulo Costa, who is, I don't know how the hell this guy gets down to 185. He's got to be walking around at least 240. Thing is about Paulo Costa, I've said this before, he is good at every aspect of MMA. He really doesn't have a weakness, and he proved something against Yoel Romero his last fight. He's got a fucking chin. So it's going to be a good one. When they set that one up, Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa, it's going to be one to watch. And this is all just build up. We've heard the talking all the time. John Jones giving him shit because he's stealing his spotlight. It's all build up to Israel Adesanya versus John Jones, to, you know, champ versus champ, 205 versus 185. And I would fucking pay double to see that fight. The shit talking that those two would do, and then the style of fighting for both of them, and just the way both of those guys. It's one of those fights I'd like to see both guys lose. I'd like to see both guys win. It's a win-win no matter how you look at it. But Israel's got to get past Paulo Costa first, and he's a fucking animal. I only see like maybe 2 or 3 fights for him. You know, if he takes care of Paulo Costa, maybe they set him up against Jared Cannonier. I don't think they rematch against Calvin Gastelum just yet, but if Israel continues to be the stud that he is, he's a hell of a draw, he's entertaining, he's a great talker, he's going to be the new face of UFC real soon, and that's why John Jones hates it, That's why John Jones wants to kick his ass, because he knows he's stealing his money and his spotlight. So that was that. UFC 243, great one. Next up, UFC 244 in November. That's the baddest motherfucker fight between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. That should be one to watch. The card itself ain't too good, but that fight alone might be worth the pay-per-view. I don't know. Let's see where my bank account's listing at, and I'll see if I'll order that one. What to watch tonight? Well, all 4 MLB teams are in action. Yankees, since it's best of 5 series, the Yankees and the Astros look to close it out tonight. I think they both will. And the Braves take on the Cardinals. I think the Braves win. Dodgers take on the Nats, and I think the Nats pull this upset off, and they go to 5, and then the Dodgers will win then. But again, all 4 MLB playoff games tonight. Check it out. And also tonight, of course, Monday Night Football between the 49ers and the Browns. I got the 49ers on my fantasy team, on my defense. I'm hoping for at least 6 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, and a shutout for San Francisco. If that happens, maybe I can win my fantasy. Otherwise, I'm going to lose because I'm getting beat by like 40 points. As far as the game goes, this is a toss-up. This is a toss-up. I'm going to go ahead and roll with San Francisco, though. I think Cleveland's got enough firepower, and they're going to be very confident after last week's win against the Ravens. But I'm still going to roll with the 49ers tonight. Stay undefeated. They go to 4-0. It's in San Francisco. Cleveland's going to have to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. It usually doesn't end well for those teams. San Francisco, a 4.5-point favorite. I think they win by 3. So I'll go with 21. No, I'll go 4. I'll go 4. So the Browns would cover. I'll go 21-17 San Francisco. All right. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to catch the show on YouTube at Box Score Radio. And if you would like to send me some feedback, thanks for tuning in, guys. And I will catch you on Friday, players.